Today is the 21st of August, 2009. We are doing a home interview today in Glens Falls, New York. My name is Wayne Clark. I'm with the New York State Military Museum out of Saratoga Springs, New York. Sir, for the record, would you please state your full name and date and place of birth, please?
John J. Swift, born in Syracuse, New York, 1917.
Did you
31st July.
Did you attend school in Syracuse?
Yes. Went to St. Vincent de Paul's Grammar and High School, Albany Business School, 1 year in Syracuse University.
Okay, and what year did you graduate from high school?
36.
And when did you graduate from Syracuse?
I never finished. I went into service.
Okay. And did you enlist or were you drafted?
Neither. I joined the National Guard in Syracuse.
Oh, okay.
Which was a cavalry outfit.
Uh-huh.
With horses and everything. And this was 1940, I guess it was, before the war started. And my brother was in the National Guard. He was 2 years older than I was, so he told me one day, he says, you know, we're going to be going to war pretty soon, and you better join the Guard and go with somebody you know.
Mm-hmm.
And he was right. About 2 months later, they nationalized the Guard unit and sent us to Fort Benning, Georgia. Took the horses away from us.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, we didn't have a gun or a truck when we went to Fort Benning. We got to Fort Benning, we had to borrow a truck from the Army down there to get our rations. That's how poor we were.
Oh my goodness.
And we had the old World War I uniforms, the cavalry uniform, the boots and the jalpers, you know, and the big old campaign hat like that, and the wool overcoat. Wow, that overcoat got wet, it weighed 50 pounds.
So they sent you to Fort Benning. What were they having you do down there?
They called us they called us an anti-tank battalion.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't have gun one or a truck even. That's our illustrious president. He was a Roosevelt, you know. He was a real optimist.
Mm-hmm.
If you excuse the word, a bullshitter. That made everybody think that we had a great army and a lot of power and stuff like that, you know. But we didn't have dooley squat. And after a while, we did get some equipment. I ended up with driving a 3/4 ton truck with pulling a 37 millimeter gun behind me.
Mm-hmm.
That was supposed to shoot at tanks. Against a German tank that had 88 millimeter rifles on them, which could fire probably 5 miles farther than my little old pea shooter could do.
Mm-hmm.
And we were supposed to go shoot German tanks with that little bitty gun. The thing that always amazes me about that period of time was when, just between the time we got to Fort Benning and the time we were fully equipped was 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
And we changed weapons 3 times. 3 times we changed weapons. They had completely outfitted us with weapons 3 different times.
Mm-hmm.
That's how much production was started up in 1 year. It's just unbelievable, you know.
Now, did you have any basic training at all, or were you just put in a unit and you just went from there? Actually, we had to behave like an infantry outfit, you know. Mm-hmm. We were stationary in one spot. We had a city of tents down there we lived in. And then we did the usual thing that infantry people do. They go up and do some navigation in the woods, things like that. Cleaning guns was a major occupation. Mm-hmm. And I saw the old army was at Fort Benning. You know, they were they were so obsolete, the people in it, they were so far behind the times, it was unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And, but anyway, we just sat there and did our little thing, practicing and training and stuff like that for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, then, yeah, there was a deal, you know, when Roosevelt said, if you volunteer now, if you serve a year, you'll be out in a year.
Mm-hmm.
So I got out, I served a year, and they sent me home. You're out of the service, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I go home, it was about the 1st of December 1941.
Mm-hmm.
And no sooner than I get home, and the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor.
So you were home on leave or back in civilian life?
Well, I was back, theoretically, I was running my last days of service.
Uh-huh.
It was a vacation, on leave. you
On
know.
leave, okay.
Yeah. So actually, I wasn't out of service yet. So after the 7th of July, December, after Pearl Harbor, I get a notice to report back to Fort Benning.
Mm-hmm.
I had to go back to Fort Benning again and join the unit. Well, now that we were definitely facing a war, participating in one, everybody started looking for other ways to go to war than trying to shoot a tank. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So I took an examination for the Air Force and passed it, and I got separated from the unit in Fort Benning, and then they sent me to Sacramento, Mather Field, I think it was, yeah. And there I had to wait for an assignment to get into school.
Mm-hmm.
And we spent our time polishing airplanes, and they had nice, it was a bombardier training, navigation bombardier training center.
Uh-huh.
And they had what they call a twin beach airplane. It was, I don't know what the number designation for the Air Force was, but anyway, it was a nice silver airplane.
Was that what they used to call the bamboo bomber?
No, the bamboo bomber was the, I'll get to that, that's
Okay.
in my primary school,
Okay.
yeah. So anyway, I spent a couple of months there, and then they sent me down to Santa Ana in California for basic training. And I said, after that, they sent me to Scottsdale, Arizona, to Thunderbird Field. It was a civilian operated training school for the Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
And they had Stearman biplanes that we learned to fly in.
Mm-hmm. What did you think of the Stearman?
It was the first airplane I ever flew,
Uh-huh.
and it was an awful big airplane compared to the trainers that we use today, the small airplanes. And I never realized how big that thing was until I had to refuel it one time. I had to get on a step ladder to put the gas in the top of the wing, you know.
Uh-huh.
So it was a pretty big airplane. But it was a two-seater, front cockpit and back cockpit. And normally the student sat in the back and the instructor sat in the front. Now my instructor was a sheep farmer from Oregon. He raised sheep, and he had been flying airplanes in his herding sheep or whatever he did with it.
Mm-hmm.
So he had experience in flying, so they drafted him to be an instructor. So anyway, that was just sideline because he was a very good instructor. He knew a pretty good job.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, we went to Bakersfield, California,
Mm-hmm.
for basic training. And that was the BT-13, which was they used to call it a vibrator.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a single engine with tail dragger and a metal airplane. And it was a pretty reliable airplane, nice stable airplane, easy
Mhm.
to fly. Okay, so then while I was there, we were
these are, the base where Bakersfield was susceptible to fog
Mhm.
continually in the wintertime. So we weren't getting our flying time in, so they took us all over to, on the other side of the mountain to, almost had it. Anyway, there was an airport over on the other side of the mountain where the weather was always good. So they took the whole unit over there and we did our training over on the other side of the mountain, on the east side of the mountain.
Mhm.
So anyway, finished that, we got transferred to Roswell, New Mexico for advanced flying school. Okay, this was multi-engine training. And this is where that bamboo bomber thing came in.
Okay.
It was a Cessna, a twin-engine fabric airplane, tail dragger, and it had a bad reputation for burning very easily. So anyway, we started out in that, and then we got some new B-25s in from just made, and we started training in those, learning how to fly those.
Mhm. What did you think of the B-25?
Oh, it was a wonderful airplane. I thought it nice, stable airplane. You know, put it in one position and fly forever.
Mhm.
It wasn't hard to fly. In fact, it was a lot easier than that bamboo bomber.
Mhm.
So anyway, went from there to, I graduated from flight school there. Got commissioned as a second lieutenant. Then I went from there to Greenville, South Carolina, and for crew training on the B-25. And I stayed there about a year, and then, let's see, what they did is form a crew and gave them an airplane and sent them over to Africa, you know.
Mhm.
And the crew that I was put on, I got sick with pneumonia or something like that, I forgot what. But anyway, I couldn't go when they went.
Oh.
So they sent those guys over with another airplane commander, you know.
Mhm.
So what they did, they had to fly down to South America and Brazil, and then fly across the Atlantic, or the Atlantic, over to Ascension Island, which was halfway over to Africa, and then from there into Africa. So I wish I'd gone that way. It was really a great experience going that way.
Mhm.
In fact, now I don't want to get off the subject, but I was going to tell you about, what was his name, the great football trainer, Harmon, was it? Anyway, you don't have to hear that.
No, whatever you want to talk about is fine.
Well, anyway, he was All-American and everything. He went into the Air Force. He got through school and learned how to fly B-25. He went south on this trip, and for some reason or other, I can't remember what happened, but they didn't make it. Something happened on the way down to Brazil, I think. And so I don't recall exactly what happened to him, but anyway, it was all over the papers. This guy went down in Brazil someplace.
Mhm.
So anyway, get on with it. So I had to go from, as a single, they called it, what do they call it, individual, going by themselves. They can't think of the name. But anyway, I had to go over by myself to find the war.
Mhm.
Okay.
So you didn't have a crew then?
No, I didn't have a crew then.
So how did you go overseas?
Well, tell you the truth, nobody told me how to get there. They gave me some orders that said APO something or other,
Uh-huh.
and that's the post office.
Right.
And that's New York City. So anyway, where I was going to go, I didn't know where the hell it was. So anyway, I started out by myself. I got on a C-54 that was going to Bermuda out of
Mhm.
Fayetteville or Greenville, and landed in Bermuda. When I landed in Bermuda, my ears plugged up, and I couldn't go any farther until I got clearance from the the docks there, right? So I sat on the, at Bermuda, it was a officer's club was sitting on top of a hill overlooking the airport here like that, you know.
Mhm.
And I sat up there in the veranda of that thing in the sunshine for a week, you know, and watched the airplanes come and go. So I went to, I guess kind of tired of sitting there, so I went and saw the flight suit and I said, hey, how about, my ear's all right so I can go now? He said, yeah, go ahead. So anyway, I get on the flight line and I do an operation. Says, I'm looking for a ride over to Africa. And he says, well, we got a lot of airplanes going that way. He says, you'll have to go out there and ask the pilot if he can go with them. I said, okay. So I go out and get hold of one of the C-54 pilots that were heading for Africa. And he said, sure, come on, get on board, you know. So anyway, there was another guy there along with me, and he had the same problem I had. So we get on board the airplane, and in the back of the airplane is a great big radial engine. I don't know what airplane it was for, but it was a big one.
It was sitting in a crate?
It was on wheels, believe it or
Oh.
not. And it was strapped down, right?
Uh-huh.
So anyway, we start down the runway, and this damn thing starts moving back towards us, you know, and just stretched the straps out, you know, and because it was on wheels, it could move the whole darn thing. So we both of us jumped up and got a hold in the damn engine back so it wouldn't roll back on top of us. That was a great experience. So anyway, we take off and we fly over to Casablanca, Africa. And, I know what that terminology is for a person that's going by himself is a casual.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a casual replacement unit in Casablanca. It's a tent city. And, so anyway, I went to this casual replacement center and tried to find out where my outfit was that I was assigned to, you know. And they said it's probably, so when Rommel was and the British and the Americans were fighting in the desert over there in Africa. And he said they're probably over there where all these guys are fighting, you know. So I said, well, where do I go from here? He said, try Algiers. So I bummed another ride over to Algiers, got in Algiers, and there was nothing there, actually. It's just another city. There's a Navy base there. So anyway, I went to town and I went to a bar actually and was having a drink, and the sailors were standing next to me. And we had a few, and they said, where are you staying tonight? And I said, I haven't got a place to stay yet. He said, why don't you come out to the ship with us? I said, sure, I'll do that. So I go up to the ship with him, you know, and they got a whole bunch of good scotch out there. And so we drank all night on the ship, you know, and the next morning the skipper comes in and he says, who the hell are you and what are you doing here? He says, get off of my ship right now. You know? So I got off his damn ship. Went back to the airport, said, look for another airplane going east, and I got another C-54 going east with cargo. So anyway, I was trying to remember where I landed after that. There was, let's see, this was about the time that I remember Sicily came into action, into the picture. And I think I got a ride from there over to Sicily. And then the unit, everything was moving so fast eastward that I still hadn't caught up to my unit. So I got a ride from Sicily up to Naples. And in Naples, I finally found somebody that heard about this unit I was supposed to be in. And the unit was at Salerno. Salerno. I guess it's, anyway, when I got there, Mount Vesuvius erupted, and it covered all our airplanes with soot. And I can remember walking around in the soot up to my knees. And as I walk, every time you move your foot, the stuff that just fly up in the air, you know. And so anyway, we had 48 airplanes there, B-25s, I think, and they were flying missions up into North Italy and southern France. So anyway, they wiped out this thing wiped out a whole wing of airplanes. So they said, well, you guys are going to go over to what's the islands over there? There's Sardinia and the one north of Sardinia. Why can't I think of that? But anyway.
Now at this point, were you with the original guys you had trained with?
Yeah.
Okay.
I caught up with.
Okay.
I was still a casual as such, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, they said we're going to move you over to Corsica. That's the
Of
island.
course. Okay.
And they had, you know, the foresight of people that planned all these logistical things, you know, is really unbelievably good. You know, they had built 4 airstrips on the beach over in Corsica. You know, that of course didn't have much to do. They leveled off the sand and put down what they call a metal PSB planking, they call it. And you'd land, the airplanes would land and take off on those. So anyway, we get over into these 4 airfields are already laid out for us. So we took one of the airfields and built our tents and stuff around it. So so we started running missions over into North Italy, Po Valley mostly, and the big event was the invasion of southern France that terminated it. And
Now let me just stop you for a second. What year is this?
it's 1944. I think
Okay.
it was, yeah.
Okay, so this was
I graduated.
right during the Normandy invasion?
Yeah, about that time. Yeah,
Okay.
I graduated April 43.
Okay.
Spent a year in Greenville, so it had to be about April 44.
Okay.
So, anyway, like I say, the big event of our unit was the invasion of southern France.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what date that was.
That was June 6th.
June 6, 45?
44 for D-Day?
Oh, it's 40, yeah, okay. So anyway, that was an amazing operation. It's hard to believe.
Mm-hmm.
But over in Italy, they had 2 different wings of B-17s. So this one morning I hear that in the middle of the damn night, I hear this roaring going on, this continuous roaring. And the roaring got louder and louder and louder. So the airplanes, the big airplanes came in first and went up 30,000 feet or so. And the small, medium-sized airplanes came in and went about maybe 20,000. Then my kind of airplane was about 10,000 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole unit started into southern France at one time.
So you were still on B-25s?
Yeah, and it was the unit was like this. The heavy bombers up here, medium, and the smaller airplanes down here. And the wave went in like this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the bombs started falling out of the upper wave in front of us. And they were coming down right in front of us like this. You can see the bombs going by. And I don't know how southern France ever survived that. We must have wiped out half of southern France in one move. So anyway, then let's see. I think I got a little kooky over there. They're like, you know, you get a little wacky doing things. And I was doing a lot of flying and volunteering for stupid missions. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they said, I think you better go home. So,
Now, during any of your missions, were you ever under attack?
oh yeah.
by fighters and,
Uh, well, the Germans used 88 millimeters.
oh, okay,
mostly.
flak mostly.
Yeah.
Did your airplane take any hits?
Well, we get some little holes here and there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
My engineer that was on my original crew, he had one go right under. He was an engineer, and an engineer has a position right behind a pilot and co-pilot in the B-25,
Mm-hmm.
and one went off right below him, and come up. He got shrapnel in his butt, sitting on his little. So anyway, he got shook up quite a bit, you know.
Mhm.
But that's the only casualty I know.
Okay.
So anyway, they sent me home, and I don't know where the hell I went after that.
Now you went home from Italy. Was this still in 1944? It was sometime after the
yeah, I
invasion?
think it was towards the end of it was December, I think. I got
Okay.
home. I think I got home in time for Christmas,
Okay.
and but then they sent me to a casual. Oh, it was Atlantic City. That's right. They had a hotel in Atlantic City where they sent people to get their brains back in order, you know.
Now, how did you get back home? Did you come home
Oh, I
by?
came home on a boat.
Okay. What was that like?
That was not very good.
Did you get sea? Did you
I had-
get seasick?
I had the bottom bunk on the bottom of the ship,
Uh-huh.
and I was sitting in Naples Harbor for a couple of days, and that ship was going like this, rocking all the damn time, you know. Anything hanging up from the ceiling, or you hang your clothes up or something like that, they're going back and forth in front of your face all the time.
Uh-huh.
So, then we took off to sea, and I got up on the deck stayed on the deck most of the time.
Uh-huh.
But that was a crazy ride. They had a poker game. I think it took us 8 days to get back.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a poker game started in the harbor. It must have lasted 10 days. Continuous.
Wow.
Some of the guys came home with nothing. Some guys came home with a lot. But anyway, came back. Then they sent me down to Atlantic City, and I took my wife down there with me down there.
Oh, you were married at the time.
Yeah, I got married in Greenville just before I left.
Oh, now where was your wife from?
She's from Glens Falls, New York.
Oh, okay.
And we got married in Greenville, South Carolina.
Okay.
Anyway, so we went down to Atlantic City and had a good time down there for maybe a couple of weeks. Then I got an assignment, and I went home. I told my wife, I said, hey, I got an assignment. And she says, where? I said, Tampa. And she says, oh, good, we're going to Tampa. I didn't say Tampa, I said Pampa. That starts with a P, and it's in Texas. In the Panhandle.
Oh boy.
And she said, oh, I thought we were going to go to Tampa. I wanted to go to Tampa. Well, we're going to go to Texas. So I went to Texas for a year and instructed B-25. And the end of the war came, boom, like that. Just stopped right now. And everything stopped moving. The base, everything stopped. The flying stopped. Everything stopped. And there's maybe 3,000 service people standing there, didn't know what the hell to do. They tried to entertain themselves and things like that, you know. It was pretty sad.
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody knew what the next day was going to bring.
Now, was there a lot of celebrations going on? Because, well, at that point, the war had ended in Europe.
Yeah.
And now, when did the flying stop? When that war ended, or the war in the Pacific?
No, 45 stopped.
Okay.
And, I got out, I think I got out in August of
Okay.
45.
Yeah, because Japan surrendered in August of 45.
I think that's when I got out.
Yeah.
But anyway, I said I wasn't going to wait around to be the last one out and find a job, you know. So I said, I'm getting out early. I went and told the wing commander, I said, I'm going to quit right now. I said, I got to go find a job. And I figured I'd get a job with an airline right away. So when I got home, back to Glens Falls, I got down to New York City to, what was the name, was it LaGuardia, I guess was the only airport there at the time. Anyway, where all the airlines headquarters were down there. And I went around to all of them. I said, oh, we'd be glad to hire, but we haven't got any airplanes. So he said, will you come back next year and we get some airplanes? So anyway, I go back a year later, and I still don't have enough airplanes. And they got so many people now that they don't give a damn. So I'm still in the reserve, Air Force Reserve. And
Now, what rank were you at that point?
I was lieutenant, yeah,
Okay.
first lieutenant, yeah. See, I made captain in Germany, I think it was, after the war. But anyway, let's see, where was I? Went back home looking for a job, and so anyway, I couldn't get a job down in New York, so I came back to Glens Falls, and I got a job at Kresge's under the VA. They had a training program for manager training. So I got a job at Kresge's. Let's say, you know, I forget what you call them then.
It was,
5 and 10 cents.
yeah, like a department store.
Yeah. So anyway, at some reason that didn't work out. So I decided to go to school, so I went, applied for Syracuse University. And Syracuse University had established a whole bunch of trailers for the veterans there around Drumwood's golf course out there. And my wife and I got a trailer there. And we stayed there, and I went to school until she had a baby, and then we had to come back to Glens Falls. So, and then, I can't remember what I did after that. It was just, so then I got home. I got recalled in 1951, wasn't it?
Now, did you continue to stay in the reserves?
Yeah, I was
During
in
that
the
period?
reserve all the time, but I couldn't get any training. I used to go over to Rome Air Force Base. They had 1 or 2 little trainers over there
Yeah.
that you could get some time in, but there's so many people doing the same thing that you couldn't get scheduled. You know, after the war, it's pretty bad. See, after the war. Oh, then I get a little message from Uncle Sam that says, we need your services in Berlin. And
Now, this was Berlin, the Berlin Airlift, was that in 47 or 49?
see, I went in, when did I go back in? I think I went back in 47. I don't remember.
Okay.
But anyway, I went to school. They sent me to transportation school in Lowry Air Force Base in Denver. And then from there, they sent me over to Frankfurt, Germany. That was in 49.
Okay.
And I ran a motor pool at Rhine, Maine for all of the trucks and motor vehicles and operating in the airlift there. I did get a couple of rides over to Berlin, but it's hard to describe Berlin airlift. It was a masterpiece of planning. You know, in operation, it was a great operation. I mean, we kept Berlin in coal all winter long. All of the coal they needed.
Mhm. Now, were you actually flying?
No, I was mostly on the ground.
Mostly on the
motor
ground,
pool.
okay.
They had we had trucks all the time and loading airplanes. I mean,
Yes.
they had bags of coal. Like, they'd get, we started out with C-47s, which is a DC-3.
Mhm.
And of course, that couldn't carry very much. So then they got these C-54s and they took them away from the airlines and sent them over there. And I used to see brand new airplanes come in, and the inside be all brocade and very fancy inside.
Mhm.
They just tear all the seats out, start throwing bags of coal in, and they just stuff it full of those bags of coal.
Hmm.
And it was fantastic out there, fantastic. I can't praise it enough.
Now I see here that you were captured in Hungary and you were a POW.
Yeah.
When did that happen?
Well, after the airlift finished,
Mhm.
they transferred me down by Munich to can't even think of the name of it. Friesen, no, it's not Friesen. It's a depot, and all the excess equipment. I ended up with about 8,000 vehicles in my name, like I owned them, you know. And we were collecting them from all over Europe and bringing them back down to this place where I was. And so anyway, we had an airport there where the depot was, and I happened to become the supply officer for the motor vehicle squadron, right? So I had to go out and find all the trailers. We had 40-foot trailers all over Europe. We had to go out and find them because they're all on the books someplace, you know. In other words, this unit is supposed to have 10 of them, and this guy is supposed to have 10 of them, things like that. And trailers just have a way of wandering around by themselves, you know, disappearing. So anyway, we had to go out and find all these things and bring them back to the depot. So that went on for, let's see, 49 to 51. Yeah, 51 is when I took my infamous trip to Hungary.
Mhm.
It wasn't to Hungary. It was supposed to be to Belgrade, Yugoslavia. But it was just a whole bunch of things that went wrong, starting from the weather briefing to all the way there.
Now, were you flying as a passenger, or were you?
I was the co-pilot.
You were co-pilot.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got back into flying at that point.
Yeah, it was a DC-3 and C-47, and we had some cargo to take to the ambassador in Yugoslavia.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, we started down and, well, you know, accidents always happen to be a series of incidents.
Uh-huh.
It terminates in an accident type thing. Well, we didn't have an accident, but from there. Anyway, we flew down to towards Belgrade. The winds were going in the wrong direction from what they gave us. In other words, we planned on the wind from the left. So anyway, the winds turned around and come from this way. So Belgrade's over here, and Hungary is right next to it. I mean, you can spit between them practically. You know. So anyway, we go down there, we can't find Belgrade, and it ends up that we go past Hungary and into Romania, and we gave up, couldn't find any civilization, so we turned around and came back. We're coming back over Hungary, and the Russians got tired of us flying around overhead without challenging us, so they sent a big 15 or 21, whatever, was sent up to intercept us. And this is nighttime now.
Mm-hmm.
So we're flying along about minding our own business, and this guy comes by and let's go with a burst of tracers across the front of the airplane, you know, and he gets our attention real quick. So he just comes around again, and he says, follow me. So we followed him into the airport. It was real close by.
Mm-hmm.
So we landed there. We didn't know where the hell we were. And we landed, and the Russians, we didn't even know they were Russians. You know, they just, all of a sudden they met us at the airplane. They took the pilot, Captain Henderson, and they took him and they took one side. I guess they went and interrogated him.
Now, did they have guns drawn or anything?
No, they didn't. You know, they didn't look like they were too serious about the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
I guess probably the ground crew and the average airmen or whatever they were there didn't seem to be too concerned about it, you know.
Now, how many were on board? Just you two, or were
There
there?
was four of us.
Four?
There was an engineer and a radio man
Mm-hmm.
on board. But, so anyway, I just laid down on the floor of the airplane and went to sleep, and then come back. I don't know how long it was afterwards, after they took the captain off. And then they took the rest of us and put us in the barracks where the Russian soldiers were.
Mm-hmm.
And we each had a separate room. That was the last time we saw, each one of us saw each other again until the day we
Now,
got out.
How were you treated when you went into that, into the barracks there?
Well, you know, the regular military treated us like military.
Mm-hmm.
But there's the guys that came from Moscow, they were KGB guys, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And actually they didn't treat us like roughly or anything, you know. They just interrogated the hell out of us
Mhm.
for hours, you know. And but they used to come like in the middle of the night, get you out of bed, and take you out and put you in a car, and you go someplace and have a secret meeting with some dodo that's like to talk, and take you back to the barracks. Let's go back to bed. And then the real weird part about seeing, like I said, the Russian military treat us like almost like friends or comrades,
Mm-hmm.
you might say. And like to go to the train was outside. So anytime you had to go to the train, you just get up and walk out the door into the hall, and you go down to the train, you see some soldiers wandering around, and you can even stop and talk to them, you know, if
Mhm.
you can communicate with them.
Uh-huh.
But in fact, I got into a discussion with one of them one time about cameras, you know, and he could speak some German, I could speak some German, and we were doing a lot of hand talking, and the subject was his camera. He was showing me his camera, how good. So that was made in Leipzig, you know, and we made that camera. I said, you didn't make that camera. The Polish people made that camera. He said, they did not. This is a Russian camera. Well, I don't argue with you, know, but anyway, it was, I forget the name of the camera, but anyway, we just had this conversation, you know, and I went back to my room, and so we were there, what, 40 days, but I wasn't there in the custody of the Germans, or the Russians 40 days. They turned us over to Hungarians.
Now, was this big news back home?
It was great big news back home. They
Mhm.
couldn't find us.
Mm-hmm.
The Russians didn't tell anybody where we were. Nobody knew where we were. We had searches going on over the Alps and all over the place over there.
Uh-huh.
They figured we ran into one of the mountains over there, you know. And we were there for, I don't know, probably our government didn't find out about it for about 20 or 40 days.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 30 days that the newsmen found out about it first, you know.
Uh-huh.
And so anyway, then I guess probably when they decided to try us in court, in a Hungarian court, they decided that they'd release the information to the U.S. government, you know.
Mm-hmm. And what was the charge against you?
It wasn't espionage, I don't think. That's what they accused us of, espionage. I think it came down to you, of course, crossed our border illegally.
Uh-huh.
And I think that was the charge. So anyway, we went before a three-judge court, and they accused us of violating the border, and they said, you're guilty, right? And then, I don't know when we found out about the fine, but later on they told us what the fine was. It was $120,000. It was all four of us, or each one of us. I think it was 120,000. They fined us 120,000 apiece,
Uh-huh.
I think it was, and confiscated the airplane. So after that, nothing happened. We went, well, we were staying.
Did you go back to where you were staying?
Well, we didn't go back to the Russians. We went to, all the time we were being interrogated in Budapest. We were living in a great big, like might have been an embassy of some sort.
Uh-huh.
And we got all the interrogations went on in this fancy place. Had a nice bedroom, overlooking the gardens, you know.
Now, how was the food during this period?
The Russians fed us borscht 90% of the time, and borscht is like a, it's a soup.
Potato soup?
A thick soup, like I think it's got cabbage and vegetables and stuff like that in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very good. Well, not very good, but it was good. You know,
Mm-hmm.
good food. And but other than that, so anyway, after get on with this thing, after the trial, we went back to wherever we were individually housed, and I saw the rest of the guys at court. That's the first time I saw them. And then I didn't see them again, and I think it was that night or the next night, they came in a car, got me in a car, and they always went around with the shades down, you know, on the side of the car,
Mm-hmm.
so you couldn't see where you're going. So in the middle of the damn night, they take off, and the first thing you know, we're in a convoy with several other cars, and we're racing like hell through the darkness, and we were wondering what the hell we're going to end up doing next, you know. And finally they come up and stop, you know, and they said, get out. So we get out, and the American ambassador from Austria was there to meet us. And we were at the Austrian border. And they took control over us from the Russians or the Hungarians, whoever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Then they'd send us back to our base in near Munich. Oh, I can't think of the name of that base it was at. But anyway, we went back to where we were, and there's a lot of news coverage on this thing, you know.
Now you were all together again at that point?
No, I stayed in the officers' club. I don't know where Captain Henderson went. He might have been there too in some place. But the news media were all over us, you know. And my father had cancer and he was dying. And they said, well,
that light's got to go over.
they said, you're going home to see your father.
Mm-hmm.
So the next they sent me up to Frankfurt, and we got on the next airplane going to Washington. So I got to Washington in the National Airport, and
they had a big press conference there, and a whole bunch of hullabaloo. And I didn't know what's gonna happen next. They didn't tell me I was going home to see my father, they just, you're going home.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I'm standing there amongst a lot of people, and this guy pulls out my shoulder and said, "Come with me." And I thought, this is Secret Service, I'm going someplace, you know. I went with him, we went out on the ramp, there's a DC-3 sitting there, and I said, "Where are we going?" He says, "Never mind, we're going someplace." And I get on the airplane with him, and we're the only ones on the airplane. And then he tells me who he is. It's Bill Brinkley of Life magazine. I thought he was a Secret Service guy or somebody, you know.
Uh-huh.
And he had confiscated me right out of that crowd, put me on his airplane, and flew us up to Syracuse, New York.
Oh.
That was crazy.
And was that when they took your picture for Life magazine?
It was one of the many, yeah. Well, the weird part about it was, see, it seems like Life magazine is running the whole show about this time. They had my wife come from Glens Falls, had a private airplane flying her down to Syracuse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they got there before my airplane got there, and they wouldn't let anybody land until I landed. And landed and got on the airplane, and then she comes in after, and that's when we first met.
Now, how many children did you have at that point?
I had Leslie was born in Glens Falls
Mm-hmm.
in 45, or yeah, 47, I think. And then Jane went over, and Leslie went over with me to in the airlift into Frankfurt. They lived with me over there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we moved down to Munich, and she had to come home because her mother was sick,
Mm-hmm.
and David was born while she was home.
Okay.
So then after that, let's see, that was David. It was born while I was overseas. And then Danny came along. He was born in Mobile, Alabama, when I was stationed there.
Mm-hmm.
And Lynn was born in Orlando while I was stationed at McGuire.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the extent of my family.
Okay. So when they flew you to Syracuse and your wife came to meet you, did you have the two children with her? Or?
I don't think so. She
Okay.
left the kids in Glens Falls.
Okay.
But anyway, I went up to see my father in the hospital, and he was so glad to see me. Well, anyway,
Okay.
to get back to the story, my father died, and after he died, I got transferred to New York City, it was the New York Air Force Procurement District.
Mm-hmm.
They bought everything that was made on the East Coast. They bought airplanes, engines, and clothing. And so anyway, I was there a year, and they transferred me to Brooklyn Air Force Base in Mobile, Alabama. That was in 1952. And I worked there at Brooklyn Air Force Base as in the maintenance department, engineering department, for, let's see, 3 years. And then I was transferred to McCoy Air Force Base. We had back up one, and
they sent me to B-47 school in, where was that? It was Wichita, Kansas. And learned to fly the B-47. And then after I graduated from that school, they sent me to McCoy Air Force Base.
Now, was that aircraft a jet? Did that have the jet engines or still the reciprocating
No, this
engine?
is jet engine. It had four engines.
Okay.
And then, let's see, I ended up in McCoy. And while I'm at McCoy, they changed airplanes from B-47 to B-52s. And so I flew B-52s also. And I stayed at McCoy for 9 years.
Now, what did you think of the B-52?
It was a monster, you know. It was so big you couldn't believe what was going on behind you. You know, you got well, when we were flying airborne alert, we carried four or six nuclear bombs in the back in the bomb bay, you know. But anyway, the airplane is so big you can taxi with flat tires and never even know it. I started out one time taxiing out from the ramp, and a truck ran out in front of me, stopped me, and said, "You got a flat tire?" I said, "I do." I didn't know it. I had enough power, so I think I could have taken off with the flat tires. But, then while I was there, of course, we got into the big hassle, you know, over Cold War deal. And it was, we were flying airborne alert, maybe we had one a day. Our outfit, with other outfits had airplanes up too. But especially in the Cuban crisis, everybody got very excited about that, you know. And at McCoy, they moved us out of McCoy, moved B-52s and tankers out of McCoy, and moved in all fighters. And they filled the airport up with fighters. And they were ready to go after Cuba. You know? And of course, they didn't want us big bombers wiping out the island, you know. And they're going to have to fight. They're going to just do it small scale. And,
So were you constantly on alert during the Cuban crisis?
Yeah. And that's when we were doing a lot of airborne alert stuff. In other words, like we take off, we were up at Turner, Georgia at the time, and we take off and fly from Turner over to the Mediterranean. Let's see, refueled over Spain, went over to the Middle East, turned around, came back, refueled over Spain again, going home. And we get home about 25 hours after we took off. So anyway, so we fast forward into the next move.
Okay.
Okay, the next move is I got transferred to Loring, Maine. And I was, at this time I was the command post chief controller of the command post. And they transferred me up to Loring, Maine as the controller, not as a pilot as such. But the thing that irritated me about that, I had to be there the next day. And I said, my daughter's graduating from high school next day. I'd like to stay for that. No, we got to get up there right away. So I get up there and they needed me like they need a hole in that, you know. And so anyway, I stayed there a year, and I get orders to go to. I got orders to go to Vietnam as a controller.
Now, what rank were you at that point?
Lieutenant Colonel.
Okay.
Yeah. And from there we went to, I got the orders to go to Vietnam. So this is another big rush deal, you know. You gotta go right now.
And what year was that? Was it about 64, 65?
Yeah, let's see, I retired in '68. I was in Vietnam in '67, so it'd be '66 and '67.
Okay.
Vietnam. But,
And whereabouts were you stationed in Vietnam? Was it Tan Son Nhut?
no, that was our headquarters, the 7th Air Force headquarters, Thompson.
Okay.
But when I got transferred to Vietnam, we had to hurry up, and I rushed the family out and got them into Glens Falls, to leave me in Glens Falls, and I had to take off for Vietnam.
Okay, I'm going to stop you here because I have to change tapes.
Okay.
Okay, we left off with you going to Vietnam.
Right. Okay, so I rush over to Travis Air Force Base in Sacramento, and it's there again, the same things in World War II. I was carrying orders that were secret. Nobody knew where the hell I was going. And so anyway, I got onto C4, C-141, that's what it was. And I ran into 3 other guys that were going on the same job I was going on. So we got together.
Now this is in 1967?
Yeah.
Or thereabouts?
Yeah. And anyway, we got in this 141 and we flew from Sacramento over to what's that island in the Pacific?
Was it Guam?
No, the one that it's a little dot in the ocean over there. You get refuel there.
Not Okinawa.
I forget the name of it. But anyway, we landed there about 12 hours after we took off from Sacramento. Got gas and went another 12 hours over to Bangkok and landed in Bangkok. And right in the city of Bangkok, the international airport, they dropped us all off. There's nobody there to tell you where to go or what to do. And so we got probably 100 guys wandering around, where do we go from here? So anyway, these other 3 other guys that are going the same job I was going on, we got together and said, well, we don't know where to go, so we better go downtown and get us a hotel someplace. So anyway, got a taxi cab driver and said, hey, take us down to a hotel in Bangkok, And said, well, there's a military hotel down there. He said, you want to go there? Yeah, we'll go there. So anyway, we went there and stayed at the hotel in downtown Bangkok and sort of communicated with all the guys who were hanging around looking for a place to go, wanting to know where the hell we were going, And so we'd go out to the airport and see if there's a C-54 going north, and we got on one of them finally, and there was three or four bases north of Bangkok. There was, what's it, 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4th one. Yeah, we went up to the last one north, and that was on the Mekong River. That was Udon, Thailand. And we went in there. We were running out of money, so we had to find a finance office someplace. So we went to the finance office, got some cash, and we tried to find out where we were supposed to be stationed. Anyway, nobody there knew where we were supposed to be. So we said, well, they said, you better go over to 7th Air Force Center in Saigon and find out where you're supposed to be. So we went back down to Bangkok, stayed at the hotel, looked around for a ride back over to Tan Son Nhut, and there was a Continental Airline crew there with a 707 that had just dropped off some people in Bangkok, and we talked to them and said, where are you going from here? And they said, we're going over to Tonsalute to pick up a load and go back home. Yeah, oh great, we can go with you, can't we? Yeah, sure you can go. So anyway, had about 10 hostesses with us, and rode first class back to Tonsalute, which wasn't very far actually across there, and so that's how we got back to our headquarters, 7th Air Force at Tonsalute. So then we go from there, we say, well, let's go up to the headquarters and see if we find somebody who can tell us where the hell we're supposed to be. Then we get up there and get into operations, and some general starts chewing our ass for not being there, where the hell you been, all this sort of stuff, you know. And we said, well, we don't know exactly where we're supposed to be, General. He said, you're supposed to be in Udon, Thailand. Oh, Jesus, we just came from there. And he says, go back there. So, anyway, I said, how can we get back to Udon from here? He says, well, there's nothing goes direct. He says, you'll have to go over to Bangkok to get a ride up from there up to Udon. So we had to go back to Bangkok. Went back to the hotel, of course, a couple of drinks, and then head back up to Udon again, you know. We get up there, and the guy that's running our operation, there's 5 officers, I think we had. We're setting up an airborne command post, right? And he said, where the hell you guys been anyway? We've been en route. So anyway, they set up an operation there, and there's an airborne command post operating out of the headquarters in Tonsalute. And our job was to go up in the air and hover over North Vietnam border and monitor all the flights, all the fighters that are going into North Vietnam. And it was mostly to keep people from running into each other up there, you know. And so we'd have they'd go up there, you'd get a type, what do you call it? Like a big telegram, but you could peel it out like this, as that long, you know.
Like a teletype?
Yeah, teletype. It was on all the flights that were going to go into North Vietnam. There's a lot of flights, believe it or not. And what we do, these guys that call into us coming in, you know, we tell them that monitor where they're going and keep other people from going where they were going. And when they came out, if they had any ammunition left, we divert them down to a Laos, I don't know what you call it, maybe a Laos local, you might say, that are fighting Vietnam. See, they had Laos, and they had a battle going on between the Vietnamese and the Laos people, and they're all natives. I mean, it's really boondocks up there, and so if the airplane come back with some ammunition, like the 105 had a Gatling gun in the nose, and which was perfect for close air support, you know. So if they came back with something like that and they're looking for a target, we just turn them over to a FAC, that's a forward air controller on the ground, or maybe in the air in a small airplane, over and over the little fighting going on there. And then these 105s would go down and shoot up the enemy, you know. But then that's what we did every day. And then they started at night doing the same thing, and I guess it must have been successful in the daytime.
Now, in those missions, how big of a crew did you have?
We had a pilot, co-pilot, radio man, engineer, and me. Oh, I had an intelligence officer too with me.
Okay. Now you weren't acting as a pilot at that
No,
point?
no.
Okay.
I was in the back. We had, you see, this was a real off-the-cuff operation.
Mm-hmm.
Unprogrammed or whatever. Some guy got the idea we ought to do this. And they scrounged up 3 DC-3s or 747s. They gave them to us, and nothing in them. And we had some good radio men and mechanics and stuff like that. So they set up in the back of the airplane, they set up it was very simple. They took a piece of plywood, 4x8, hinged it on the wall of the airplane, or you could bring it down and make a table, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and gave us a radio back then, right? So that's a very bare essential type of operation.
Mm-hmm.
But it was fairly peaceful type of deal. It just, you know, it's funny thing about that war over there. You know, there was a trying to think of the name, but radio station, navigation, VOR,
Mm-hmm.
on top of a mountain on the border of North Vietnam and Laos, right? And all the airplanes used that particular VOR to do their navigating, you know, and reporting position. And I suppose Vietnam people did the same thing, you know, used the same damn radio. Well, they never bothered it.
Mm-hmm.
It was their whole war. It was a strange war, to say the least.
Now you were there for about a year?
Yeah, I was there a year. We flew 165 missions. I flew 165 missions
Mhm.
every other day for a year. Then I got sent back to the U.S. and where'd I go? Oh, we had a choice. Going back, you had a choice of 3 different bases, right? So I picked Rome Air Force Base, I picked Blackford Air Force Base in New York, and Westover in Massachusetts. They sent me to the Pentagon building. So I went to the Pentagon building and I walked in the door and I said, how do I retire? They said, you can't retire. You're going to stay here at least a year. And I said, okay, well, that's the way you want it. So a year later, I presented my papers, and I said, I want out of here.
Now what did they have you doing at the Pentagon?
I was in the command post, and it was a, I was writing a book, actually. I wrote a book on combat reporting. What it was is telling how the units should report the availability of men and airplanes. You know,
Mhm.
so that if you had a scenario like, see, you had a plans department upstairs in the Joint Staff, and they wrote all these plans, you know, in case you have a war here or war there or something. They always got one. So anyway, they had one for when the Pueblo was sunk in Korea. Korea sunk in North Korea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, North Korea sunk the Pueblo, I think it was, which was the intelligence ship that we had over there. And anyway, war was declared. Right? That was the Korean War started. And so in the command post had a big conference table. All the staff comes down, they spread out on the table with their books and tables and all that stuff, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
they wanted to send some fighters over to Korea, South Korea, and the airplanes that they flew in South Korea during the war, and you know, during the Korean War. The Korean War started in '56, I think, something like that.
1950.
50. Yeah, well, that's right. It started when I was over in Germany. Yeah, and anyway, at that time they were using P-51s, and I think they got some jets over there, like maybe the 86 or something like that. But anyway, the airplanes that they have now in, I think this was in, what was that? That was 67.
Mm-hmm.
The airplanes they have now are a lot bigger airplanes, a lot heavier airplanes. And they were even using different kind of fuel than the other airplanes did. So the guys, the logistics people, were trying to say, well, do we know how, if these bigger airplanes can land and be parked on the same spot that a smaller airplane was parked, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then what kind of fuel we got there, things like that, you know? And they didn't have that information. It was unbelievable. And so they sent airplanes over there, and they just, I guess, hoped, like, well, they fly, well, what were we flying then? 101s or 100s? Yeah, that was 100s. And they put these, they sent them over there anyway, and I mean, we never did get to shoot any else, I don't think, at that time, did we? But we just increased our forces in South Korea.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's the end of that baloney. Then I got out of the Air Force, and retired, went back to Glens Falls. And
So you were about 52 years old at that point?
Oh, wait a second.
So you were born in 17,
Yeah.
and got out in 68, so yeah, you were about 52, I think.
Yeah. So anyway, went back home. I got a job at Saratoga Airport teaching people how to fly.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked there for 14 years before I retired again. And that's where I am right now. I'm retired completely.
Uh-huh. Do you
And
still
then-
fly at all?
Yeah, well, my medical is run out, so I gotta go get another medical. But,
Mhm.
I've been flying maybe once or twice a year since I retired from teaching.
Out of Saratoga.
Yeah. So here I am today, retired, living in Orlando in the winter and Glens Falls in the summer.
Yeah.
What else could you ask for?
It sounds like you've had a very interesting life.
Yeah, I guess so.
Now you've got some photographs to show us
Yeah.
too.
Picture is a picture of taken at Scottsdale, Arizona, Thunderbird training school for primary training school for the Air Force.
And whereabouts are you?
This would be, I graduated in 43, so it'd be 42.
Okay, and which guy are you in the picture?
I'm this guy on the end here, the tallest one.
Okay, let me just zoom in on that. Okay,
Okay.
all right, got it.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, this other picture is a picture of taken at Bakersfield, California, where I was training, in the airplane behind me is a BT-13. And let's see where I am in this one. Oh, this is me here.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Okay.
And you've got some other
Well,
memorabilia there.
I got this. Well, this big book here is all of the Air Force retirees that are, no, all the Air Force people that have ever been in the Air Force, a list of them. This is commemorating the 60th anniversary of the Air Force Association and the United States Air Force from 2006 and 2007 compiled them.
Okay.
My history is inside this book.
Okay. All right.
Okay, then this is the story of my captivity over in Hungary, is in this Life magazine here.
And that's January 14th, 1952.
Yep.
Okay, do you want to open that up to the
Yep.
story?
Oh,
Okay. Let's see. And that's you in the picture, right there?
yeah, with the baby. Yep.
Okay, let me just zoom in on the caption there.
That was the day I got back from captivity. That's my son David there.
Okay. All right, got it.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, that's the story of my life.
Okay. Well, I've got a few more questions to ask you,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
Okay.
Okay. Did you end up joining any veterans organizations?
I belong to the VFW and the American Legion.
Mm-hmm. And have you stayed in contact or with fellows you served with, or have you gone to any reunions at all?
No,
No. And you haven't stayed in contact with anyone?
no.
No? Okay. How do you think your time in the service changed or affected your life?
Well, let's put it this way. If the war hadn't come along, I'd probably been a sports bum.
Mm-hmm.
It sort of changed my life a little bit.
Uh-huh. Do you think you would have ever started flying, maybe as a civilian at all?
I never even thought about flying before.
And prior to going into the service, had you ever even been on an airplane or taken a flight at all?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. And is there anything else we may have missed that you want to touch on at all? Or do you think you
There
covered?
probably is. I'm going to write a book, and
Uh-huh.
I never get started on it. But I was going to write an autobiography. Well, first off, every time I tell this story about my how I get to a war, I was going to write a book, and I was going to title it the name was "Where the Hell Did That War Go?" Anyway. And I had so much trouble getting the wars, and you wonder why the hell I did it, you know.
Uh-huh.
But I could have, if I wasn't conscientious in either of those wars, could have just disappeared and nobody ever missed me,
Mm-hmm.
you know. There was no accountability for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was just another, somebody that should be there but isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And it really makes you wonder, you know. Well, people ask me, why did you want to get to the war so badly? And I says, I don't know why I wanted to get to the war unless I was just curious about the hell goes on in a war, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess it was a different time back then, and the country was pulled together and everybody was behind the war effort.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for your interview, and thank you for your service.
Thank you very much for listening.